All right, it is 6 o'clock. So we will go and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
So we'll call to order. Mr. Cook?
Yes. Dr. McBride? Mr. Perez? Here. Mrs. Steffi?
Here.
Mr. Kizabeth?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here. All right, item number 3, adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I believe we have a change to the agenda. We're going to add a public comment section. I think we all missed that was not on this one. We typically don't have those in special board meetings. So we will add that here. I apologize to everybody for any confusion there. Do we have to move to amend the agenda?
No, we've adopted it. We've made the motion on here with it, so we can approve it.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
Mr. Kizabeth?
Yes.
Dr. McBride?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
As amended.
Mrs. Steffi?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes. All right, move on to item number 3, appointment of the interim superintendent. Get a motion?
Where were we adding public comment? I'm sorry.
Were you having?
Yeah, right there. Okay, so does that become 3A?
3A.
All right, so move on to item 3A, public comment. I don't have the script in front of me, but per board policy, we will allow 30 minutes for public comment, up to 3 minutes per person. If there is time after everyone has had a chance to speak, we will allot additional time for people to speak again. Please state your name and address when you come to the podium. That's close.
You did it.
You got it, yeah.
All right. So anyone wishing to speak, please.
Carissa Allen, 135 Clinton Avenue. Just as we were sitting, waiting for you guys to come out of executive session the other night, I was listening to some comments and stuff on the curriculum that got approved. And I guess I'm just a little concerned that I was hearing that just the way I guess it went about, that we purchased some very expensive curriculum that didn't seem to be something that the people who have to implement it were happy with. And it felt like their voice wasn't being heard about that. And so that really just kind of concerns me after, been hearing we're having, that we have to watch stuff fiscally very carefully. It just seems like if our teachers are saying something, we shouldn't be maybe purchasing something with such a price tag on it. I also just want to say that while everything is kind of contentious right now, and I understand the difficult position you guys are in, I did appreciate the, when you came out of executive session, letting us know as much as you could about what was going on. Because I think we really have to be very careful and work very hard to remain transparent to the public. That's just going to be very key. We've let's face it, it's been terrible. Every time we think we've made it up the hill, we just roll right back down. So I think you have been, and I hope that you please continue to be very mindful, to be transparent with the public, because there's a lot of questions and you can squelch them very quickly by just coming out with as much truth. And if you can't come out with a bunch, say that. Legally, at this point, we can't say anymore. I think that goes a long way versus just kind of keeping quiet on stuff. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak at this time? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to item number 4, appointment of the interim superintendent. Get a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
Mr. Cook. Any discussion or comments or questions?
Question. We're appointing him interim. What's the specific period of time till?
We don't have a specific period of time. We have to work as a board to outline the contract. Right.
It can't extend to like 3 years at this point without a contract, correct?
I don't believe it can, no.
Can't really go beyond a year without a contract.
I forget the duration that's allowed for an interim.
Right. So we're not hiring a superintendent tonight.
We're not hiring a superintendent tonight, right? No, we're appointing an interim superintendent tonight. There is still work to be done to identify a contract for interim superintendency, yes.
And then to clarify, I'm not trying to cut off anyone else's time. Mr. Richards still contractually superintendent till at least July 30th,
July 31st.
31st. So we can't, he is still here until that point. And we really can't do anything until that point, correct? Other than this interim solution that you're proposing.
Yes, that's correct, yes.
This we
And
can't have two superintendents.
Yes.
we had a discussion with legal counsel and with Mr. Richards' resignation and with us appointing an interim superintendent, those supersede his contractual right, I guess, to act as superintendent. So while he is the officially named superintendent of the district, whoever we would appoint as interim superintendent, again, because of those two pieces, has official authority as superintendent for the district.
Is it true that we have at least 6 people in the district with superintendent's licenses?
We have a few, I don't know the exact number.
And so I guess my question is, have you involved the administrators in making this decision at all, recommendation?
Yes, we have.
Oh, in what way?
Victor, if you have a dialogue you'd like to have, why don't you go ahead and have it?
That's- I'm just saying for, you know,
Victor, if you have a statement to make, just make it.
No, I'm just saying that I think that in this recommendation, my understanding is that we have engaged our administrators in making, or you're in making this recommendation, I think, at this point. So this is, I think, not the board just acting in isolation.
I would agree with that.
I mean, Ms. Perez, we were all present. We were all present in an executive session. We have all met with our, what is our term, our senior leadership team?
District leadership?
District leadership team. So yes, I think what the point that you are making is that this was not made in a vacuum and that we did include those individuals in both speaking with them on individual levels and as a unit.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Anyone else? Mr. Cook?
Dr. McBride,
Yes.
Mrs. Duffy,
Yes.
Mr. Kizabeth,
Yes,
Mr. Perez, Mr. Wood.
Yes. Did we have reason to enter executive session this evening?
Good.
Want to hold off on it? Okay. Okay, so no entering into executive session this evening. And so item number 6, we will not exit executive session.
Correct.
Before we move to adjournment, though, we did want to make a note here. In a future meeting, we'll have some additional action to take. Obviously, there's additional action to take in terms of having a contract officially in place for an interim superintendent. But some additional action that we will take would be to reinstate Mr. Bose as assistant superintendent. We received the proper advice from legal counsel on what we need to do to make that happen. All right, so there is an action that the board needs to take. So again, anyone worried or concerned or questioning what will happen to Mr. Bose, the intent right now would be to reinstate him. And again, we have to take action to reinstate the position and then offer him a recall letter.
Recall.
Yeah, it's a recall letter. So those are the actions we have to take to reinstate Mr. Bose as assistant superintendent. So we'll act on that in a future meeting.
I think, from my perspective, I think I understood it differently in that he is not being reinstated. He is still the assistant superintendent and has been. That the position was eliminated next year in terms of a RIF, and that's why he would get the recall letter,
It would
correct?
be on the action for
Yeah,
next year.
we have to take action
Right,
to
but it's not to
reinstate the position.
Okay, the position.
We have to reinstate the position to which we would recall Mr. Bose, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you. My wording was a little off, thank you.
right. I think that's what people misunderstand. We have never, he is still our assistant superintendent and we expect him to act that way for the next, that's what I think, and he's been doing that, so.
I have one more thing. I generally don't make prepared statements, but I had one for this evening. The board receives emails regularly on our TCS board comments email mailing list or mailbox. We received one yesterday, and something stood out to me on that email. The person who wrote the email closed it with, and this is a quote here, please help me understand what role I can play. All right. That email, the content of the email was about Mr. Bose and reinstating him as a superintendent. I'm sorry, and stating him as a superintendent. So it was very similar to a lot of emails we've received lately. I spent about an hour on the phone with this individual. We talked about several topics, some of her concerns and some of hers and mine hopes for the future. The conversation, while containing some challenging topics, was not full of accusations and negativity. The person was willing to listen and understand, and they made sure I was listening to them as well. They didn't like all the answers I gave them, but we were able to have a dialogue, and we both got a little better after having had that conversation. What I see outside of that conversation and a few other conversations that I've had with some individuals is greatly concerning to me. And the word I would put to it is divisiveness. As I said, we get a lot of feedback and information from a variety of sources. It's our job as a board to represent the voters and taxpayers, right? That is our job. It means we have to take in as many of the opinions and ideas as possible, consume as much of that information as we can from within the organization, and come up with the best decisions we can. Some of our decisions are popular and some are not. Some of our decisions work out and some don't. One of the key things that separates great school districts from just okay school districts is how they react once a decision has been made. We can choose to focus on what we don't like about a course of action and find ways that it will fail. We can choose to be divisive and constantly look for failure, or we can choose to be unifying. We can work together to identify and overcome obstacles and challenges. The board is committed to continually working to make the best decisions for all students and staff in our district. They are and will continue to be the most important factor in all of our decisions. Words have gravity. They can tear apart or bring together. I'll come back to that email message in the last line in it. Please help me understand what role I can play. It was an overall unifying message in this person's email. When we were interviewing superintendent candidates 2 years ago, one of them asked us to describe the district culture. My answer was one word: unintentional. I challenge all of us going forward to build an intentional culture of unity. If we seek to divide, we'll be divided. But if we seek to unify, then we have a chance of succeeding. That was it.
And to play off of the whole conversation, but also what you said about serving the voters and the taxpayers, I think it is important I think it's obvious, but it's important that we state the fact that while we are recalling Mr. Bose, we are still down a position in the administrative offices, meaning what is happening has allowed us to do that without spending any more money. There is still a position that is no longer in existence. We're still down one position, which is we're still being fiscally responsible, but it's also allowing us to keep Mr. Bose, which is what we would like to do.
And one of those pieces, one of the need for that is the consistent feedback over the years that we've heard from within the district about bloat at the top. And so after looking at the data and figuring out where we were with administrative positions, it is clear that we needed to be one less, and we are. We're maintaining that. And to Mr. Williams' points and to Mr. Perez's points, we do seek out information. We do talk to those in the district. We do talk to those in leadership, and we do talk to our constituents. And there's a lot of opinions, and they're not all the same. And everybody brings different points in. And so we work hard for it not to become a vacuum or an echo chamber where we're only hearing one point of view or one piece. And then we each all bring our own to the table, and we work to consistently make the best decision for kids. We're not always going to land them perfectly, but we do earnestly try to make the best decision for kids.
It's really important. I feel in the last 10 years, we've been a rudderless ship, and I think our teachers have done a great job of doing what they need to do for our number one priority, and that's our kids, the kids of Tiffin City Schools. I think it's important as we move forward that we all work very hard to row in the same direction. We've got to get this district moving forward, all of us working on a common goal to move us forward, all rowing in the same direction. And I'm hoping as we step forward tomorrow and in the future that we do that. And I speak for all of we 5 board members. That's our goal, is to have the best for our district and most importantly, to have the best for our kids.
I think to hit on something Mr. Williams said, I'm used to like issues we've had in the district, but I was really upset with some of the comments that were made recently. It has turned into discussions about outsiders and insiders. And frankly, it makes me wonder why we want to stay on this board or even have my kids in this district. In case you don't know, I am an outsider. I came from Illinois, moved my family out here, and apparently maybe I don't have credibility with the public here. Does that mean that half of our teachers, or I don't even know the numbers, shouldn't have input either because they don't live here? Are their opinions less valuable? Do you need to live here a certain amount of time before you're considered for positions, or you don't matter? It's this divisiveness. If we want to undermine our district, we can do that. We can find reasons to pick at each other, or we can notice that we're actually moving forward. I read one comment, it said, and I'm getting tired of this, that we're a dumpster fire. I've been in other districts, grown up in other districts that wish they had the opportunities and experiences that we have here. I think the comment is third world problems. We are on the border of choosing between good and being very good and excellent. There are parents everywhere that would want to have that for their children. That's what we're arguing over at this point, whether or not we want to support our children more or less, or if we're just happy where we're at. We're not worried about our kids coming to school and being safe. We're not worried about whether or not our school's under state control right now. It's what are we actually arguing over at this point? I saw one comment that said, don't punish the children for what's going on. Realistically, what has happened? We had a change in superintendent. That happens everywhere. It happened at Mohawk, it happened at Findlay, it happened at Old Fort. It's happening everywhere. And yet nobody panics in these other districts and calls it a day. We do. Why? This is part of life change. We just deal with it and just move on and continue to provide for our kids. I just drove by our fields again, and I always mention what our kids are doing. Apparently, our kids are able to succeed. And I was in our school last weekend, saw the art festival. I mentioned that at the board meeting. That wasn't a dumpster fire. Those are our children succeeding. Anybody want to insult our children and call them a dumpster fire? Come on over. But I'm going to stand up for our children and their education. And I expect, again, as I said, we hire professionals, administrators, staff, to do their job. And our job is to hire administrators. And at the end of the day, to see them succeed. So we can sit here and pick at every decision, or we can just do the best that we can and make it better for our kids and be the adults and grown-ups in the room. And that's all I'm going to say.
I do just want to make a note that I'm really, this isn't where we plan to be or where we forecasted 2 years ago. I think that we all had different hopes for how things were going to be. But tonight I'm hopeful and I'm excited. I think we have a really strong leadership team, and talking with them all individually and as a unit, I'm really excited to see what they can do together. I'm really excited to see what they can do with our teachers. And I'm excited to see how we move forward. Is this where we wanted to be? No, but we have a really cool opportunity. And I think that the folks who are leading the district, with Mr. Nadeau at the helm and with Mr. Bowes and with Ms. Tewitt and with Mr. Cook, what a really strong team. And some folks who were born and raised here and some folks who aren't from here, and all different skill sets that coming together really cover a vast majority of those pieces that are needed and required to run a district. So I'm thankful for the incredible professionals that we have, for the teachers that we have, for our amazing students and our family, and I'm excited to see where we move forward from here.
Anyone else? Okay, so we move on to item number 7, which is adjournment. I need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it. Okay, Mr. Cook?
Dr. McBride,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Perez, Mrs. Steffi,
Yes.
Mr. Kizabeth.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, May 24th at 6:30 PM here at the middle school. Thank you. May 20th? Did I say 20?